welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be another episode of the Championship Roundup, and in this video here today, guys, we have got a whole load of action to go ahead and discuss which occurred over the weekend. This weekend in the Championship, guys, we had a lot of pretty mental matches going on, if I do say so myself. We had a lot of high scoring games this weekend to go ahead and talk over, and it was just a pretty hectic weekend in general. So as always, guys, I'm very interested to get your guys' thoughts on what you thought of your team's performance this weekend. Of course, we are going into an international break, which isn't the best of news, but nevertheless, what did you make of your team this weekend, and how do you think you're doing this far into the season? As well as that, guys, make sure you let me know down below what do you think was the goal of the day, and what did you think was the result of the weekend. I'll be revealing what I thought they were at the end of the video, but we've got a lot of contenders for them, definitely. So just before we do get into any of the games, guys, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your scorelines correct this weekend, I will include your comment on screen now. So fair play to everyone who did get one correct this weekend. It was a pretty tough one to predict this weekend, in my opinion, and I believe FIFA 18 had a pretty good week this week. I think they got 2 or 3 of them, their scorelines correct. So fair play to FIFA. Let's get into talking about some of the games. So our first game we have to discuss was the game taking place on Friday night between Wolves and Fulham, and this was a pretty good game in my opinion for the spectacle. Wolves were looking just absolutely untouchable for times in this game, and they got off to a pretty good start as well. A header from Seiss in the 9th minute, a brilliant bullet header into the back of the net, managed to give them some reassurance going into this game, and after that another set piece saw Bonatini double the lead for the home side. And honestly, as the whole game went on, I thought Wolves got maybe a little bit unlucky not to score more than 2 goals, to be honest. Some of their interchanging play going forward, the Fulham defence really couldn't stand up to it at times, and it did take a couple of decent saves actually from David Burton to keep the score down in this one. But looking over Fulham's recent form, they're really not in a good spell at this point in time. Not won a game now in their last 5, and really things don't seem to be clicking for Fulham at the moment. Had a couple opportunities going forward, but Wolves were always going to win this one. And now next game to talk over was a big game taking place at the top of the Championship between Bristol City and Cardiff City, and in the end it was the home side who managed to claim the 2-1 victory and really are looking in a fantastic run of form at this point in time. It was Callum O'Dowda who gave Bristol City the lead with a fantastic curling effort into the back of the net. In fairness to Cardiff, they did get back into it with a goal from Omar Bogle, and after that, you know, we looked to go into the second half, it would be a really intense game, and to be fair, there were a lot of cards being shown in this game, and that all boiled over in the second half when Omar Bogle was sent off in the 55th minute. That really did hamper Cardiff for the rest of the game. They looked to be maybe a little bit more resilient defensively after that, a little bit more cautious perhaps, because obviously they were playing with a man less for so much of the game, and Bristol City eventually managed to take advantage of that with a header from Aidan Flint in the 66th minute, and the gift that Bristol City tweeted out when this goal went in, it's just a gift that keeps on giving really with Bristol City's Twitter account this season. But he managed to claim all 3 points for Bristol City in the end, and they're in a fantastic run of form at the moment. And our next game was a very lively game between Aston Villa and Sheffield Wednesday, where it was the away side in the end, Sheffield Wednesday, who managed to claim the 2-1 victory. And first thing we have to talk about is Adam Reach. Where on earth did that strike come from? If you've not seen the goal that Adam Reach scored in this game, guys, you have to go check it out after you've seen this video. Only 20 seconds into this game and he scored an absolute worldie. It was sort of a half volley from so far out and he absolutely rifled it into the top corner, going past Sam Johnson, and that really did set Sheffield Wednesday up for the rest of the game. Going forward, I thought they were looking very good in this one. A nice passing move led to Jordan Rhodes then doubling the lead for Sheffield Wednesday, and Villa, they weren't brilliant in this one, but albeit they weren't helped by the fact that both John Terry and Robert Snodgrass had to come off in this one due to injuries, and in the second half they looked to turn up the intensity a little bit, had a couple more chances, managed to get a consolation goal in the last minute, but nevertheless Wednesday, they looked decent in this one. And our next game saw Barnsley claim all 3 points in this one as they managed to take down Birmingham City by 2 goals to 0, and in the end it was a pretty convincing performance actually from Barnsley to go ahead and get this victory. And once again, quite a similar case really to the Wolves match. Barnsley at times were probably a little bit unfortunate not to grab more than 2 goals in this one, in my opinion. They were looking, going forward especially, they were causing this Birmingham defence all sorts of problems, which I'm in the opinion that Birmingham, that's something they really do need to sort out over the international break. And in terms of Birmingham's form at the moment, it is really not looking great for them. In their last 4 games, they've drawn 1 and lost 3 of them. So Steve Cottrell, they're just going to have a massive rethink over this international break now of how they're going to readdress things. In my opinion, they've just got to start making themselves hard to beat, really. That'll be a base to build on and then go from there, really. But at the moment, their performances have just been very passive. Going forward as well, they've not really shown much. Jota was creating a little bit, but apart from that, they weren't really showing much going forward, and Barnsley, they were the deserved winners. And our next game saw Bolton Wanderers climb off the bottom of the Championship with a 2-1 home victory over Norwich City. So fair play to Bolton fans. Bolton fans, I'm very interested to hear from you guys as to what you think could happen over the rest of the season. Do you think that you will now survive in the Championship? Because this recent little run of form you've been on has been very impressive. But one thing I've been saying quite a lot recently about Bolton is, if you look over their last 5 games, they have been drawing way too many matches at the moment. They needed to start turning those draws into victories. And a couple of weeks ago, this probably would have followed a similar pattern to that and ended as a draw. But Bolton looked to be a lot more ruthless in this game with how they were going forward in this one, and in the end they managed to punish Norwich for missing quite a few opportunities in this one actually. And 2 goals in the first half from both Gary Medine and Adam Armstrong managed to see away the danger of Norwich. And Norwich at the moment, not in a brilliant run of form themselves. They seem to be dropping down the league a little bit from where they were looking a couple of weeks ago, which will be a disappointing one for them. Josh Murphy managed to pull back a consolation goal, but in the end it wasn't enough for them. And our next game saw a ridiculous game go on in this one, as Reading managed to get a 4-2 away victory at Derby County. And in the end, I don't think many Derby fans could have many complaints about this one, really. Defensively, Derby were looking all over the place in this one, which was, it did come as quite a surprise to me, as for the majority of the season, you know, Gary Rowett's had quite a well-drilled defence with this Derby side, but Reading were absolutely tearing them apart in this one from minute 1. And I was quite impressed with Reading by how persistent they were with attacking, you know. A lot of games this season for Reading, we've seen them hold on to the ball for large majorities of it, but not be anywhere near direct or potent enough when they are going forward. They look to change that in this one. Sonia Luka I thought was causing all sorts of problems for the Derby defence in this one, and just basic mistakes. I think it was the 3rd goal that Reading scored. A Derby player, I think it was Davis, literally passed him the ball and let him go through on goal, and then Behrens managed to slot that away. But overall, Aluko and Barrow I thought were very impressive for Reading, and a deserved victory for them. And our next game saw Ipswich Town take down my team Preston North End by 3-0, and oh boy, Preston at this point in time are not playing well at all, and I can't really have many complaints about this one. Ipswich were the better side in this one. One thing I would say about the game as a whole is it looked like it was a very scrappy game, quite a stop-start game actually, which never really let either side completely get going and flow into the game. But it was an opening goal from Martin Waghorn just before half-time, a free kick which I don't know what the Preston keeper Chris Maxwell was doing for it really, and that then gave Ipswich a bit more momentum going into the second half. And Preston defensively at the moment just looks so fragile, which is just absolute worlds away from how we were looking at the start of the season. Preston now have 7 defenders who are out injured, which is just... it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, really, and there is some misfortune to that, but equally to that, going forward, we're not looking good either. So things aren't looking brilliant for Preston at the moment. Deserved victory for Ipswich. And our next game saw Burton Albion climb out of the relegation zone with a 1-0 away victory at Millwall. And one of the big talking points in this game was the red card for Jed Wallace. Now, after watching it a couple of times, I thought it was a little bit harsh, to be honest. You know, was it a yellow yellow card, yes, definitely. A red card, though, I'm not 100% convinced. Millwall fans, I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about this. But in the first half especially, I thought Millwall were quite wasteful with quite a lot of their chances they had, actually. They had a couple of them which were like guarantee goals, you'd think, but they seemed to squander quite a few of them. And Burton really made do with one of the only chances they crafted out in this game, and Marvin Sordell managed to put that one away for a very valuable 3 points for Burton, which saw them climb out of the relegation zone. And our next game saw Nottingham Forest completely dismantle QPR by 4-0 at the City ground. And I mean, this one was a very convincing win for Forest, I mean, no doubt about that, and definitely a contender for the result of the weekend. Going forward, Forest just looked absolutely fantastic for this one. They were heaping players forward and really were playing quite a high line in this one, and were really squeezing QPR into quite a defensive outset from minute one. And some of the players looked fantastic for Forest in this one. Barry Mackay was causing all sorts of problems for them. Kieran Dowell as well, he was looking brilliant again. And overall, it was just a very convincing performance for Nottingham Forest. And if they can, you know, keep these high standards and perform like this week in, week out, Forest will be going places. It's just a question of sticking to that consistency, and QPR didn't really test Forest at the back as much as they would have liked to. That was a slight disappointment from them, but overall very convincing from Forest. And our next game saw another high scorer as Sheffield United managed to take down Hull City by 4-1, and another really bizarre game in this one, and it was actually Hull City who took the lead thanks to a sublime effort from Grosicki in the first half. That's a contender for goal of the weekend, definitely. But then it did go into half-time as 1-0 to Hull. In the second half, though, Sheffield United just completely seemed to turn the screw, and one thing which has been obvious from the outset this season is Hull City have struggled massively defensively, and it was Leon Clark in this one who managed to grab 4 second-half goals to completely dismantle them, and defensively they just couldn't cope with him. I thought they were a pretty basic errors which Hull were making at the back to let in some of these goals, but that's not taking anything away from Sheffield United. You know, they saw that in the first half they weren't at their best, and they really turned up the tempo for the second half. So fair play to them. Sat second in the Championship now, Sheffield United, and Hull not looking great at the moment. And now next game to talk over was the evening kickoff on Saturday between Brentford and Leeds United, and the first 2 goals scored in this game were just bizarre. 2 goalkeeping blunders which were pretty much identical, really. A ball coming into the box, the keeper went up to catch it, and then both Andy Lonergan for the first goal and Daniel Bentley for the second goal both bizarrely seemed to drop the ball and then just let a striker go in and bag a goal. But after those 2 obscure goals were scored, really it was always going to be Brentford to go on and win this game. Going forward, they were looking terrific for this one. They actually missed a penalty and hit the crossbar 2 times in this game, so you could maybe say that Leeds got off lightly, that it was only 3-1 in the end. But going forward, Brentford have looked fantastic this season, really, and overall, this current run of form that they're on, I think you maybe could have seen it happening at the start of the season. Even at the start of the season, when they weren't picking up the results, they were still playing with this attacking ethos, which is now paying off for them, and they're seeing themselves gradually climb up the league. Leeds, however, have dropped down to 10th in the Championship, and quite a bit of pressure is being put on the manager now. And our last game to go ahead and talk over was the game taking place on Sunday between Middlesbrough and Sunderland, and in the end, it was a 1-0 home victory for the home side, which has seen Sunderland drop to the bottom of the Championship. So really not a great situation for Sunderland at the moment. But in terms of this game, Middlesbrough got off to the dream start as they took the lead through Tavernier after just 6 minutes in this one, and I mean, that probably throws Sunderland's game plan out the window straight away. You know, they'll have talked about in midweek wanting to keep this game tight for the opening stages and then seeing what they can do going forward. They didn't manage to do that, as Tavernier obviously managed to ghost in and get that early goal. After that, Middlesbrough definitely have a lot to thank their goalkeeper Darren Randolph for, as Sunderland were applying a lot of pressure going forward, and he made at one point one outstanding double save to keep Borough in the lead in this one, and other times as well he made some other decent saves. Sunderland had a few more chances. Aidan McGeady had a couple of attempts which weren't working out for him, but in the end Middlesbrough did manage to hang on to the 1-0 victory, which has seen them go up to 5th in the Championship and Sunderland drop to the bottom. So guys, that will wrap it up for this episode episode of the Championship Roundup. So in terms of my goal of the weekend, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Adam Reach for his ridiculous goal against Aston Villa. There are quite a few contenders for this one, but me personally, it's got to be Adam Reach. And then as for my result of the weekend, I'm going to go ahead and give that to Reading for getting that ridiculous 4-2 victory over Derby away from home. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for regular Championship content and get all your comments in the comments down below. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.